Hello and welcome to another episode of Entrepreneurs Echo, where we make the founders' voices heard across industries, inspiring people to dream big, break barriers, and above all, build it boldly. In today's episode, I have the pleasure of introducing Kamlesh Jain, the founder of PACT, Power of Attention and Concentration Training. Kamlesh is an attention maverick and comes with over 28 years of experience in building successful teams across in the banking and financial domains. He has served in various leadership capacities in companies like Goldman Sachs, World Bank, Citibank, etc., before plunging into entrepreneurship. He is now leveraging his experience in creating training programs that help organizations develop the people's meta skills. So, warm welcome, Kamlesh, to my channel, Entrepreneurs Echo. So, let me just start off this conversation, in the beginning, by getting to know more about your journey as to, your pedigree, your corporate experience, and how did you plunge into entrepreneurship, and especially in the field of attention and focus, which is a very critical area for all of us.
Thanks, Anand. So I'll give you an introduction. So a lot of my career is actually accidental. So I'm an accidental chartered accountant. I don't know why I became a chartered accountant, but my dad wanted me to do it. Typically in a Marwadi family, becoming a chartered accountant is like a in thing to do. So I am an accidental chartered accountant and also an accidental investment banker. So I was walking, crossing by the street called Haddo's Road in Chennai, and there was a walk-in interview happening in a bank called ANZ Greenlace. In those days, 3 decades ago, there was a bank called ANZ Greenlace. And I just went there, gave the walk-in interview, and got selected there. And life took me from there to wherever in the investment banking world. Did that for about 15 plus years. Did a lot of work in the US, in Tokyo, in London, in India. And then somewhere in the process of 15 years, 16 years of corporate experience, I realized that I'm actually missing something in my life. So I wanted to do something with reference to training, teaching, because I thought that was one of the most satisfying jobs that anybody can do. Teaching creates a lot of impact on people. And for some reason, my boss, my mentor, my godfather, his name is Nick Laird. He lives in Norway right now. And he said, Kamlesh, you're a good trainer. So I used to train a lot of people who joined my organization. Literally everybody in the past has been trained by me, hired by me in the corporate experience that I had. So then I said, okay, let me try and see if I can pursue this path as a full-time thing. Now, Anand, if you know the corporate world, what happens is in the corporate world, we get bucketed into categories for some reason. So because I started as an investment banker, now I am only an investment banker. I can't do anything else. And because you are a technology guy, you can't do anything else. So even in Namura, when I was there, in Lehman, when I was there, I told them that I want to do training, I want to get into a learning and development. And they're like, oh, Kamlesh, you're a good market person. Why don't you just continue doing what you're doing? We don't have space in learning and development. You have to continue doing what you're doing. And I said, nahi yaar, ye nahi hoga. So that's when I decided to leave all of that. It's actually a crazy step to take, to be honest, because nobody leaves a Goldman Sachs job, nobody leaves a Nomura job with 300, 400 people working under you and all that. But then somewhere in your life, you have to ask, what is your calling? What is your ikigai? What is your reason for being? So I had that calling in 2011. 2011 is when I left my corporate world. And I continued working in the corporate world, but I started doing trainings for them. And as you asked this question about how did I get into attention training, to be honest, this also was accident for me. I actually started training with reference to banking. So I used to teach people corporate banking, financial instruments, fixed income, equities, and all of that, because that's what I did in my past. But then somewhere in the process, I realized that what people are missing is this thing called attention. And there is a term that I use, we'll talk about this, called meta skills a little bit later. But people were losing attention and people were making a lot of mistakes. People were not living, thriving fully. And that's where I created a program on attention. And then I realized that, you know what, everything else that I'm doing, I'm going to stop doing all that and focus only on one product. So this is like, I call this as my iPhone. So if Apple has iPhone, I have this. And this has been my focus for the last 12 years now. Attention Institute, I've rebranded my organization as Attention Institute, and I do this full time now. And the problem has got bigger actually. So attention is something that people are losing big time these days. Everybody is struggling in life. Everybody is distracted. Everybody is figuring out कि भाई काम इतना ज़्यादा कैसे है? And I keep asking Anand this question that with so much technology, with so much AI, with so much automation, Why are people still working so long? And the problem is not time, the problem is attention. So this has been my what I call as God's gift to me, that I have to do this. And I teach this now in the corporate world. I teach this to school students as well. I teach this to people who are in the ninth and 10th standard, asking them to clear their mind, get that clarity in their head. And now this is my life. So that's the short introduction, if I can call that.
So tell me something. Is there a difference between attention and focus? And if so, what are the differences? And if not, what is attention and what is focus? And
Yeah.
how
So
do you think one can get to that stage where the attention and focus are co-joined and we can actually get better output from ourselves?
fantastic. So now a lot of people use attention, focus, concentration as interchangeable words. To a great extent, they are. But if you want to get to the nitty-gritty, I'll give you a small example. So think of a camera lens, right? If you think of a camera lens, somebody has a camera in front of his eyes, he's adjusting his lens. So the lens is what the attention is. And then eventually he narrows down to something saying, this is the position that I want to keep the lens on. And that's your focus. So the lens is giving you the attention, and the narrow down area that you're focusing on is that focus element that you call it. If I can use a mythological example, if you think about it, remember this story about Arjun, that Arjun, when he was hitting the bird, and when he was asked, what are you seeing? He said, I'm seeing the eye of the bird. Now, Arjun is Arjun, obviously, because he sees the eye of the bird. That is why he's a Sarvashrestha Dhanurdhar, as we call him. But remember, Anant, when he is looking at the eye of the bird, his attention is also on the wind speed. His attention is also on what is the distance from here. His attention is also on when should I shoot, whether the bird is moving or not. So although his focus is on the eye, his attention is still somewhere covering all of these aspects. So that's what is something that is missing a lot these days. So that's the focus versus attention, if you want to differentiate that. Right now, you're talking to me, so you're paying attention here, but maybe there'll be some point that you're focused on. So your next question is probably going to be on that because you were focused on that particular aspect as such.
Oh yeah, so I think what you're saying is absolutely right. As see, the questions that are basically emerging, from the conversation that I'm, having with you, because
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
obviously, kind of focused in terms of what you're telling, and
telling, yeah,
probably to a large extent, I'm also attentive, to what you're actually saying. So
yeah,
let me just, kind of get a little more deeper into your, your corporate experience fundamentally.
yeah, yeah,
So when you were a part of the corporate, to be honest, and you've served, as I understand, various leadership positions in the
yeah,
banking and financial industry.
yeah.
What was the point where you felt that this was something which was required? Was it an episode, which triggered you to do this, or was it something that you realized? Because plunging into entrepreneurship from a corporate experience, which you and I both know,
Yeah.
is a very difficult task. Uh,
Yeah,
but
so there, I'll give you two answers here. Okay, so one is why did I want to do something on training? Why did I want to get into this? So I'll give an example here. So when I started my career 3 decades ago, so I was one of the first members of the founding team of an organization called GRO. So it was a startup in Chennai. It is now acquired by Accenture, but it was a startup. 14 of us joined that organization, and then we grew that organization from 14 to 1400 people in about 5 years or so. But initially, when I hired a lot of people, there was a lady called Renuka in my team. And Renuka was one of those people who used to come at 9:30 in the morning and leave at 5:30 in the evening. Like 9:30 to 5:30 strict. She will leave no matter what. And she was our best performer. Like by far, her product is going to be outright excellent. She will never have any escalations from clients. Everything is flawless. And every client will say, I want Renuka, I want Renuka. But she worked only 9:30 to 5:30. Strict. That's it. There were several other people in my team who used to work till 10:30 in the night, 11:30 in the night. And next day morning, I come and check their work. There are like 50, 100 mistakes in their work. I send it to client. The client finds 20, 30 mistakes in their work. And the clients are like, by these guys. And by the way, our incentive system was such that Renuka was never rewarded. We rewarded people who were doing longer work hours. So there was overtime wages, there was food in the canteen, there was pickup and delivery to all these guys. And I was like, what is the difference? Baba, ये 8 घंटे काम करती है, ये 12 घंटे काम करता है, difference क्या है? And that's when I realized it's all about focus. It's all about how focused you are, how much attention you're paying, and how much diligent you are in your work. And that's where I triggered that if everybody could be Renuka, imagine the amount of productivity that I'll get from an organization which is small. And that's where I said, okay, this is something that we need to train. We need to teach people this. So that's the trigger point that I had in my life. Now, the second part of the question is that why did I do this? How did I do this? What was the what is called as the crossing line as such? So I actually made an attempt to do teaching and training right after I left GRO. In 2005, I did my first version of my training venture. And I realized I was too early in that. So I made a mistake. I made a mistake of doing so. Every entrepreneur does a mistake, and I have done as one. And if you've not done a mistake, you're not an entrepreneur, to be honest. And I did that mistake, and I realized that, okay, you know what, I'm a little too early. I should go back, get a little bit more ammunition for myself, come back a little later. So I started in 2005, and then I came back to the corporate world, worked till 2011, and then went back because that Kida is still there in you, right? Your heart is still there. When your heart is calling you, you will still go there. So in 2011 is when I decided that I'm going to go full time. Now, Anant, although a lot of people are nowadays what you call as making a lot of fantasy story about startups and all that, it's not easy. Two or three things which are extremely important. Your bank balance has to be there. You have to have survival basics in your bank. So because I had a fantastic career, I lived in the golden era of the banking world. I had my bank balance taken care of. I was like, if I don't earn for the next 5 years, I can still survive. I'll still be able to not downgrade my lifestyle at all. And also, somewhere you have to also realize that when you're used to every month, 28th of the month, you get a credit in your bank account, you have to get used to the fact that 6 months you'll not have any credit. And that's a mentally very difficult thing to understand. In fact, you'll only have debits, you'll not have credits in your account at all. And getting used to it takes a lot of guts, takes a lot of effort. But then eventually I realized that ठीक है, bank balance है, tension नहीं है. And by the way, a lot of people say I'll do it later, I'll do entrepreneurship later. And I'm like, you know what? At your peak of your physical body, if you are missing out on entrepreneurship, when you get older, it gets only difficult. It's not easier anymore. So a lot of people say I'll start after I finish my corporate life, I'll do entrepreneurship. Then kar hi nahi paoge. You'll not have physical strength to do it, you'll not have the mental strength to do it. Also, the competition is going to be from youngsters. So a 50-year-old guy cannot fight with a 25-year-old kid who knows everything in AI. So it becomes difficult. So I did take a call saying that I have to do it now, otherwise it's going to be too late. And good that I took a call. 2011 was the trigger point, and thank God that I've done this, what I've done. I may not have made a lot of money, but I'm sure there's a lot of impact that people have created, got it from the kind of products that we have created.
I think you nailed the point. The nail. I mean, the point is basically with respect to the impact that you're, trying to
Yeah,
create in the entire fraternity.
yeah,
Tell me something, Kamlesh. I'm very actually intrigued to know. You talked about you plunging into entrepreneurship. Obviously, with the perspective that since you've actually served in the banking and financial industry, and you were at the peak, you were
yeah,
at the peak of your career, and
yeah,
you obviously plunged into entrepreneurship by virtue of the fact having a sound bank balance.
yeah,
But end of the day, what about the others? Probably are very enthused and excited about an idea that they have. But end of the day, when they actually come and boil it to the basics, where exactly do you think this attention and focus would be of critical importance when you know for a fact that you have an idea, number one, but you don't have a bank balance, but you still want to get into entrepreneurship? So how do you, kind of create that kind of a environment for yourself? Would attention and focus at that point of time be of critical importance?
yeah. So think about it, right? If you have a challenge with your bank balance, your daily survival, your needs at home, the bank guy calling you for the EMI credit and all that, you can sustain for some time with passion. So there's a lot of people say passion, passion, passion. लेकिन passion के साथ पैसा भी तो होना चाहिए ना?
बिल्कुल
Without
बिल्कुल
without that, how will you even survive? So maybe you'll have a runway for 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, and all that. Now, some people have pedigree. To be honest, pedigree has a huge play to game. So if you're a McKinsey guy, if you're an IM Ahmedabad guy, you'll have the pedigree. The pedigree will take care of you. I did not have the pedigree at all. I had the pedigree of working in Lehman, Goldman. That pedigree was there with me. So I used that to my advantage. So one is that you obviously have to have basics, bank balance, support somewhere taken care of. The other thing is that this thing called attention focus, why it becomes so important. When you enter into entrepreneurship, remember you don't have a fixed office time, you don't have a start time, you don't have an end time. You wake up whenever you want, you sleep whenever you want. You don't have meetings to take care, you don't have a reporting officer to yourself. So suddenly it's very easy to get distracted. it's very easy to fall into the lazy trap. It's very easy. Because I remember in 2011 when I left my corporate world, and trainings came 6 months later when I started. But I still used to wake up at the same time, go as if I'm going to the office, dress up, sit for 8, 9 hours on the chair, look at my computer, read books, read stuff, and all that. It's very easy to get distracted. It's very easy to switch. And by the way, when I started, there was no Netflix. Now you have Netflix and you have Amazon Prime and you have God knows what all. So people will get easily distracted. And that is why you have to realize that you have to stay focused. You have to still have the discipline, the rigor around what you want to achieve in life. It's very easy to get distracted. The other thing, Anand, that's happening is in the world that we're living in today, there is just so much technological changes that are happening that literally every day you will say, oh, I have a new idea. Like every day your idea will have a new idea. And you have to realize that there are things that you have to say no to things, that you have to say no to certain things. You will get an opportunity, but you have to say, no, this is not what I want to do. I want to stay course on this. So when I started Attention Institute and I said, you know what, I'm going to stop everything else and focus only on this. I also had a lot of opportunities to get into a tie up with somebody to adventure into something else. Ed tech, a lot of ed tech opportunities came, but I kept on saying no, no, no to everything. Obviously, in hindsight, you might say, oh, you know what, I said no. Had I taken that, I would have been a rich guy. But all of that is distraction. So, staying focused, especially for somebody who does not have the bank balance and has the passion to do something, it needs a lot of what you call a strength. I call it grit, mental strength, to stay on course to that direction. Because it's not a 100-meter race, right? It's a marathon, and it's a marathon of 2, 3, 5, 10 years. It's not easy to sustain for that long unless you are focused and paying attention to what you're wanting to do.
Absolutely. I think you also made a very pertinent point. See, the current generation, the way that it is evolving today with a lot of technological advancements, and as you rightly said, so much of distractions which is happening.
Yeah,
I'm sure you would have actually seen, since you started off in 2011, you would have actually seen the evolution of attention and focus, right?
yeah,
I mean, people during our eras, I'm saying, people at our ages and probably your ages and stuff like that, it was much easier to get attention and focus because we didn't have too much of distractions at that point of
yeah,
time,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
But what I would very keen to know would be how are you able to bring in attention and focus to the current Gen Z, which is known for distractions, okay, which is known for kind of jumping jobs in a very short span of time
yeah,
and things like that, right?
yeah,
So where do you say the play of attention and focus in both these eras? During our era, as I said, things would
yeah,
have been a lot more easier.
yeah,
But at this point of time, I'm sure you'll also be facing a challenge in terms of when you're saying, you are, uh, kind of even training schools, colleges, and
yeah,
students and things like
yeah,
that.
yeah.
Where do you see the evolution of attention and focus has happened compared to our era vis-a-vis this era that we are staying in?
All right. So this will probably be a longer answer, and I'll pause in between as such. But Anand,
Please.
think about it, right? When you and I studied 20 years ago, 10 years ago, I give this formula called WTF. Not the WTF that most of us talk about these days, but WTF, for us, work was equal to time. So the amount of time we spend is the amount of work we get done. In the olden days, that's what it was. You come 9 to 5, you get 9 to 5 work done. You come 9 to 11, you come 9 to 11 work done. Because it was all about time. Focus was a given. So WTF, work, time, and focus. In our era, focus was not a challenge at all. It was assumed that it is there. It is inbuilt in you. But after 2014, 2015, with technology, with social media, with so much of distractions happening, this F has got damaged. So what is happening is time is still the same. 24 hours, you have the same, I have the same, Modi ji has the same, Donald Trump has the same. 24 hour does not change. What is changing is this F. And this F is getting damaged every single day. And Anand, I'll ask you a question here. Anand, do you have kids?
Yeah, of course.
All right. Do you remember when they were growing up? Do children have a lot more attention compared to adults? Yes or no?
I'm not sure. It's very difficult for me to.
Growing up, when they
You're
were
saying it's
kids.
okay. You're saying it's going up. The attention is going up.
No, no, I'm saying when they were growing up, when you were kids, the young,
Growing
two
up. Yeah, yeah,
years of
correct.
age, 5 years of age, did they have a lot of attention? Yes or no?
I don't think so.
You think so, but think about it. Anand, children have extreme levels of attention. They catch a lot of things, they notice a lot of
Interesting.
things. They will know that, oh, your dad wore this dress on that day. We went to this shop on that day. They will notice a lot of things because their ability to grasp and retain a lot of memories is extremely fast. And children were born with that ability. It's attention. It was gifted to them. But somewhere after 3, 4 years, 5 years of their age, they start getting into this world of social media, technology, phones, screens, and all that. And it starts to get damaged. So even today, and I keep saying this, even today, a child who is born today, just notice the ability to pay attention. Who learns faster, kids or adults?
I think kids, obviously.
Kids learn faster. No matter what,
Absolutely.
kids learn faster than adults. Who has more questions to ask, kids or adults?
Kids, at any
Kids
given point of time.
Kids will always ask questions. Kids have,
Absolutely.
and kids will experiment a lot. So this is where I use this word called meta skills. So Anand, in the training world, in the learning and development space, they call it soft skills and domain skills. That's usually the bifurcation that is used, that these are soft skills and these are domain skills, technical skills, whatever you want to call it. But what I have is, I call this the meta skill, which is underlying before this. Your ability to learn, your ability to ask questions, your ability to pay attention, your ability to have energy, your ability to be happy and healthy. These are all what is called as meta skills, which by the way is inbuilt in a child. So Anand, does a child need a course on happiness?
No, not at all.
Not at all. They're happy with whatever they have.
Yeah,
Yes or no?
absolutely.
And Anand, unfortunately, you and I need 3 years of undergraduate course from Berkeley University on happiness. Happiness has become an undergraduate course. I'm not joking.
Nah, true.
Think about it. So something that was
Bilkul,
inbuilt
bilkul.
in you, जो आपके अंदर था, उसने आपको खो दिया. So you have lost that. Inbuilt in you. This was inbuilt in you. The attention was inbuilt in us and it never got damaged 20 years ago. But in the last 10, 15, 20 years, this attention is getting damaged big time. And by the way, Anand, a lot of people talk about attention economy. Like we are in the attention economy. Everybody wants your attention. Netflix wants your attention. Instagram wants your attention. Anand, I'll give you an example. Last 3 days, the long weekend that we had, Good Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, 3 days, I told on Thursday evening on LinkedIn that for 3 days, please spend time with your family, disconnect with LinkedIn. So I uninstalled the LinkedIn app from my phone.
Okay.
Okay, I uninstalled. So usually the only social media platform that I use is LinkedIn. So I uninstalled the app. I ensured that I don't log in through my laptop as well. I basically said LinkedIn no for 3 days. I'll come on Monday morning. You know what? For 3 days, LinkedIn started missing me so much that it kept on sending me messages, emails from emails, saying that this notification has come. Please come and I reply this guy. This email has come to you. Please use our app. We are better at the app. They want you desperately. And we are not realizing that we are paying them with our attention. Although these things look free, they're not free. We are paying with our attention. हम अपनी चीज को उनको देके हमको लग रहा है कि हम फ्री में यूज कर रहे हैं. This is not free. So this is where, as you rightly said, the problem has become much bigger. And the problem with Generation Z, the Gen Zs that you call, they are growing up with this only. And that is why nowadays you have kids who are 10, 12 years of age going through mental therapy. They're going to go through this, what you call as therapy programs for mental being, well-being, and all that stuff. Why are they going through all this? Because the damage is just humongous. And somewhere you have to undo this. Somewhere you have to remember that this has to be undone. It's like alcohol, right? When alcohol originally came, I don't know if somebody has read this. When alcohol and smoking originally started, it was considered to be a status symbol. It was like an in thing to do. And then they realized, oh, this causes cancer. And now they have this disclaimer that comes before the movie that you should not smoke, you should not drink, and all that stuff. The point is very simple. We are losing our ability to pay attention thanks to the environment that we are in today. And these companies are taking us for a ride. And Anand, that's why I don't know if you know this, but there are several countries in the world which have actually done research on this and found out that this is a huge problem, and therefore they are cutting and solving this problem at the early stage itself. Australia banned social media for kids below 16 years of age. Think about it. Why did they do it? They know that 16 years and below, Your brain is still not grown, and you have access to social media. What do you do there? Your brain will get damaged. Sweden is another country which I respect a lot because Sweden is known for their technological advancement. Sweden has banned fintech or edtech from schools. They say schools should go
Okay.
back to pen and paper. So they've stopped all this screen-based learning, iPad-based learning, and all that completely stopped. They say you have to use pen and paper. Go back to basics because we can't meddle with the upbringing process of ours. Our body is growing till the age of 13, 14, 15, and all that. Unfortunately, in India, nobody talks about all this. And we are giving kids 2 years of age, kids, we are giving them phones. And then when these kids grow up, these kids get agitation, they get violent not using the phone. And then there are these influencers, another league of them, their own, and causes a huge damage. It's a 5 years from now, you will not even ask me this question. You will know the damage we have done to the society. And Anand, I give this example a lot that in India 9 years ago, there was a guy called Mukesh Ambani, and he gave us something called Geo. Anand, if you remember, 9 years ago, you used to get 1 GB data in a full month.
बिल्कुल.
And we used to survive with 1 GB in a full month. Yes or no?
Yeah, absolutely.
1 GB मिलता था पूरे महीने में and we
चल
were
जाता
okay with it. अपना
था.
काम चल रहा था. But Mukesh Bhai said कि data is free. Mukesh Bhai said data is free. We said we are also free today, Baba. And now look at what happened. Now you need 3 GB data in a day, 4 GB data in a day. Then you have these all these content creators, garbage being sold in the name of God knows what all. So the problem is getting much bigger. And with AI coming, with artificial intelligence, all these contents getting created, I foresee a huge problem with mental well-being. And the solution has to be there. Either you cut it in the school days, or you put what you call as the antidote when you grow up.
No, I
Otherwise,
think to rightly put it across, Kamlesh, I think it has to start, from the school days itself.
from
As
the
I rightly said,
schooling
I think
itself.
we have to move typically away from the bookish kind of a knowledge that we're actually giving to the people, to our
Yeah,
students,
yeah,
to more of these kind of things, which is absolutely critical at this particular juncture. But having said this, I also feel, while I agree to what you're saying, Kamlesh, अगर एक और पहलू अगर हम देखें तो उसपे ये भी है कि lot of these youngsters today, like for example, let's take the example of Zepto. The founder of Zepto is a very, very young guy.
yeah,
Okay, he's just about 24, 25 years old. Okay,
yeah,
and obviously he's probably one of the best known entrepreneurs today in the country, or one of the best known startup
yeah,
companies
yeah,
in the country today,
yeah,
right? So that's also one facet of it. While we say that yes, these guys lack attention, lack focus, whichever way you look at it, but end
yeah,
of the day, it is this generation that is taking the startup ecosystem forward as far
yeah,
as India is concerned.
yeah,
Now there's a lot of faith that we have on this particular generation to take that
yeah,
startup community forward,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Uh, so, is there a dichotomy that you're able to see, with respect to what you were saying and what the state of affairs is today? Are you able to understand what I'm trying to
Yeah, yeah. So
ask
Anand,
you?
what you're saying is absolutely right. But remember, Anand, think about it, right? This next generation. So I'm a huge believer in the next generation. Huge believer. What I can do in 10 years, these next generation kids will do in 1 year. I'm sure they'll do it in less than a year.
Absolutely.
And that's the technological advancement that they have. That's the thinking process. That's the scale of reference that they have. See, my scale of reference is India. They think of the world. My scale of reference is Mumbai. They think of the entire country. That's their scale at which they're operating. So these kids are brilliant at that. And that is why these Zeptos and the Dipinder Goyals of the world and all of these guys are fantastic. But remember, all of these guys have mastered their focus. They know that this is the narrowing down that I need to do, and they'll only play that game. They will only play that game. They'll never venture
So
into
what
anything else.
percentage? So what percentage would that be, Kamlesh, as per your understanding? Because you've had so much of deep experience in this particular field. I'm sure you'll be having an understanding in terms of what is the kind of percentage of people who are currently serving as entrepreneurs or who have a startup idea, uh,
Are able to succeed
yeah,
in
are
this
able to
game.
succeed or are able to are failing miserably,
Yeah,
for
so the
example.
percent the percentage of failure is just humongous. The number of people who are failing is just humongous. It's just that nobody comes in limelight as such. Nobody comes on the screen. Nobody talks about them as such. In fact, Anant, I keep saying this that whenever you want to test entrepreneurship and the success of entrepreneurship, and this is my philosophy, not necessarily that everybody has to follow, there is a thing that I call the 10-year bias. If you have survived for 10 years, that's when I call yourself an entrepreneur. If you have not survived for a decade, you're not an entrepreneur. You have to survive 10 years, which is why
Bingo.
Zomato is like a great example. Dipinder Goyal is a great example. Survived for 10 years, now growing up with that platform that they've created. Zepto again is a 3, 4 year thing that has happened. If they survive 10 years, yes, great. Look at several companies that have not been able to survive. Now, I'll give an example here, although nobody should sue us for this, whatever the conversation that we are having. But if you think about Ola as an example, right? Ola was a great opportunity. And the guy took the idea from wherever he took, copied the Uber model, brought the Uber model to India. But somewhere nobody realizes that Ola ventured into probably everything they could have ventured into. They got into two-wheelers, they got into car servicing, they got into second-hand dealership of cars. They got into literally everything that they came their way. And look at the results today. Ola literally nobody uses. The app is very rarely used these days. Their service centers are shutting down. Their EV system is completely broken down. And I don't know whether they will be able to survive in the next 2 years. And now this guy has changed the game. Now he's into artificial intelligence, Krutim, and God knows what all he's doing. I hope he gets the success. But the point is, it's very easy to get distracted. Very few people are able to stay focused on what they want to do. Zepto is a classic example of staying focused on what they want to do. Dipinder Goyal is a classic example of staying focused on what they want to do. And there are many. There are several entrepreneurs that we don't even know the names of the entrepreneurs. Like for example, who is the Swiggy founder? Does anybody know the name?
You're
He,
so right. You're
they
so
know
damn
they know
right.
Dipinder Goyal, but they don't know. I know Dipinder Goyal, but Zomato.
Absolutely. You're so
But I
damn
don't
right.
know Swiggy's founder, right? Swiggy's founder is also a great guy. He has also built an equivalent company as Zomato, but behind the scenes working. So the point is, these people were damn focused on what they were doing, building, building, building. Zoho is another example. Sridhar Vembu, what he has created himself. They come on the limelight much later. So the answer to the question is that entrepreneurship is a very sexy thing to do these days. Anybody is a walking entrepreneur. And to an extent, yes, everybody is an entrepreneur. A guy who's selling what you call tender coconut outside my house is an entrepreneur himself. But the point is, he's focused. Are you focused or not? Are you focused or not? Anant, I'll give an example. There's a place in Chennai called Shri Mithai. It's a mithai shop. It's a sweet shop. And that guy started as a dairy guy. So he used to sell milk. 20 years ago, he was a milk vendor. Today, he runs a business which has a turnover of about 1200 crores. Think about it. But focused only on one segment. He never ventured into anything else. He said food and sweets and savories, this is the segment that I want to operate in. Obviously, he got an opportunity to become a real estate developer, to start selling paneer in the market, to get into a lot of external things. But he said, no, focused, focused, focused. So if you are able to say, oh, and Anant, this is the what you call as icing on the cake. If you are a young guy and if you know how to stay focused, the opportunity or the probability of you succeeding is very high because nobody else is. Everybody else is distracted. Everybody is figuring out, jumping from one boat to another. New technologies coming. इसको छोड़ उसको करते हैं, इसको छोड़ उसको करते हैं. They're not able to stay focused on that path.
So can I safely assume, Kamlesh, that while attention is very much required, focus is the key? Correct? Am I correct? Am I,
Yeah, yeah. So at the
in
end of the
sync
day,
with
you
what I'm
have to
trying to
stay,
say?
you have to stick with one thing, right? You have to stick with one idea. So you have your attention, but you stick with one idea, you stick with one thing, and you have to have that. How do you stay focused? Like a pilot who's driving the aircraft, who's flying the aircraft, he's focused on the aircraft and driving it. Obviously, he's paying attention to the customers, to anybody who's calling him in between, the air hostess is knocking the door. That is attention, but you're still focused on driving, you're still focused on flying. You have to have this focus for a sustainable period of time. And that's the trick. Sustainable period of time is what most people are missing these days. That is why they talk about this attention deficit, focus deficit, and all that stuff.
So can we safely assume, Kamlesh, that India is basically an attention or a focus deficit nation?
Big time focus deficit nation, and especially with kids who are into this the social media generation. big time deficit, which is why if you see a lot of entrepreneurs in the next generation are going to come from a lot of these B tier, two tier, three tier towns because they don't have any distractions in their towns. They don't have anything to lose. They have no social image to prove to themselves. And a lot of the next generation entrepreneurs will come from these places.
But why do you think so, Kamlesh?
Think about it, right? So today, see, one of the things that technology does is it democratizes every information. So the information that you have in Mumbai or I have in Delhi or somebody else has in Dubai is the same information that a guy in Jaipur, small town near Jaipur, Tonk has it. So information is everywhere, but distraction is there in all these places. But in the guy who's in Tonk does not have any distraction. He does not have anything else to do. He's only focused on this. He can only do this. There's nothing else to do. He cannot go and party with clients. He does not have this, what you call as social media influencer generation thing. He can focus on his business. So I personally think that a lot of this next generation businesses that are going to come from India, the entrepreneurs that are going to be from these small towns, small places, because they have huge fire inside them to prove they have no distractions at all, or maybe a little distraction. And plus, they have this thing that, you know what, we have the same information as everybody else has. So why can't we do it? So a guy sitting in Guwahati, think about it, a guy sitting in Guwahati, in Nagaland, in Mizoram, somewhere in the corner there, he has the same information that you and I have, right? He has the same chat GPT there, he has the same OpenAI there, he has the same, all of this information. They have far more advantage than us because we have all these distractions. We have all these other things. In fact, Anand, I keep saying this that a lot of these. So today we have this networking events, right? Everybody's networking. Everybody's doing this event, this summit, that summit. Basically, they're all what I call barter trades. Everybody's doing some trade there. These guys are not distracted with any of this. They are focused on what they want and they get all their information from the web with all the technology they have. They will do much better than us because they have the fire in them. So that's my belief. I don't know whether I'm right or not, but that's my belief. Yeah.
No, I think to a large extent, I also, resonate with what you're trying to say.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the second generation entrepreneurs is going to come from, the smaller towns where
Smaller
the
town. Yeah.
impact of social media probably is much lesser than, in,
Yeah.
the bigger
Yeah.
cosmopolitan
And
cities.
also their drive, so that the desire, the fire inside them to prove and do something is much higher. The fire, the grit is much higher. They've not seen the comforts
No,
of the world.
I probably it's not to do with the fire alone, Kamlesh. What I feel
Yeah.
is it's also with respect to the accessibility.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think that plays, a far
Yeah.
see the
Bigger
access.
impact.
See, one is when you have an access, when you have accessibility to a lot of things,
Yeah.
there is obviously
Yeah.
zest for you to do something much more because you have accessibility to all these.
All these, which you never had earlier, right? Which you now, because
Absolutely,
thanks to
absolutely.
technology, you have all of this. Yeah.
Sounds good. So the other thing what I wanted to know was, Kamlesh, from a corporate perspective and from an entrepreneurship perspective, where do you see attention and focus being different from each other? From a corporate employee to a person who's going to do a startup.
See, from a corporate employee, it's actually very easy, right? Your work already is micro streamed. Like of all the things that you have, you are only doing this. So we have now got into this what is called as hyper specialization stage. So nobody does the entire process anymore. So if you go to a bank, the guy who handles cash only handles cash. He does not even know what is accounts payable, what is receivable, what is check plan. He doesn't. He's hyper specialized. And especially in India, we have all these GCCs that are there in India, all these global offshore centers that are there. They're all hyper specialized jobs. So in that hyper specialized job, paying attention and focus actually is a lot more easier because it's hyper specialized anyways.
Right.
Entrepreneurship is a much more difficult thing because you are a one man army, two-man army. You have to think about everything. You have to think about GST, you have to think about legal implication, you have to think about that, you have to think. So suddenly your canvas is much bigger. And because your canvas is much bigger, this focus attention becomes a little bit more problematic for you, a little bit more challenging for you. So although the employee has a different challenge, the employee has a challenge that it is a very monotonous work. So when you are hyper specialized, I'm doing the same thing over and over and over again. It is very monotonous. So I lose my attention because it's very monotonous. Bore मार रहा है. आनंद the advantage with entrepreneurship, you bore कभी मारेगा ही नहीं क्योंकि इतना फेस है ना. Today I have to do this, tomorrow I have to learn this. Yesterday, one client came and said, Kamlesh, you have to get empanelment on the SAP system. I was like, SAP system, ठीक है, अच्छा वो करता हूँ. So every day you're learning. But because your space of operation is so high, and plus you don't have bandwidth, right? And as an entrepreneur, I don't have the ability that I have a separate admin department, separate HR department, separate finance department. You are admin, you are finance, you are everything. So when you have a situation like that, staying focused here also becomes a lot more challenging. And that is why I have this very simple rule that there are certain days of the week that I only do all my regulatory stuff. There are certain days of the week where I only do rebuilding, recreating a lot of my programs and all that. There are certain days of the week that I only do relationship building with clients. So I have like time demarcated, blocks demarcated for all this. But attention focus for an entrepreneur is far more challenging than an employee. For an employee, the challenge is monotonous work. For an entrepreneur, it's creative work, but it is a lot of work in a lot of areas.
The sense of failure that an entrepreneur goes through,
Yeah.
do you think attention and focus can make him or her comfortable with that kind of a feeling?
Yeah, so think about it. That failure is integral, right? It's integral part of your life. I'll give my example, right? When I started as a trainer, then I got into attention. This became my stream. I was a classroom trainer. I used to teach people in a classroom in an experiential format. COVID came, classrooms were shut down. 5 years, there was no classrooms at all. And even now, classrooms have not come back, although every organization understands that online training does not work. But they have still not gone to 100% classroom sessions.
True.
Now you have to rebuild and reinvent yourself every time. So this failure that you're talking about comes back again and again in your life. As an entrepreneur, you'll have more often than ever before. And with technology, it is even more scary because what you learned 3 years ago, 3 years later, the technology is gone. So having this failure is an integral part. But what attention and focus does is that if you know that this is the path that I need to go, even if I fall down, I'll come back because the path gives me the anchor. So I always give this that you always have to have an anchor in life. There has to be that the ship that has an anchor, right?
Mm.
And Anant, so I do a lot of mindfulness related work. And one of the things that we say in mindfulness is make your breath as your anchor. Because your breath, आपकी सांसें आपका anchor बना लो. So the moment you bring
Correct.
your mind here, the moment you bring all your attention to your breath, if you want to experiment, you can experiment. Bring your mind here and try and keep it here. And you will not be able to keep it for more than 30 seconds. You will not.
Interesting.
30 seconds is the max. 30 seconds अगर कर लो तो बहुत बड़ा बात है. आप अपनी सांसों को यहाँ लेके आओ, breathe in, breathe out. Suddenly in 30 seconds, some random thought will come and it will go. It will come back. It will go. So this becomes a lot more challenging, but attention and focus allows you to come back. It allows you to come back. It allows you to come back. So every time there's a failure, if you are distracted, you will fall. You will go down. It's like habits, right? I give this example that if you're a morning walk guy, if you walk every day in the morning, it's very easy to get distracted 3 days because you have attended a wedding, nice lavish wedding somewhere. 3 दिन के लिए नहीं गए. अब चौथे दिन आपका मन करेगा नहीं जाना है, छोड़ना है. But if you are focused on your health, if you know that this is what I want to achieve in life, you'll come back, you will bounce back. So I keep saying this: attention and focus is your anchor, is your foundation. इसको सही कर लो, बाकी सब कुछ सही हो जाता है. इसको बिगाड़ दो, सब कुछ बिगड़ जाएगा. This is your
So,
foundation.
got it. So, taking this conversation a little further and digging a little deeper, how would you define success? Because I know it's a very relative term. Success, is it something which is different for a corporate employee? And success, is it something which is very different for an entrepreneur?
Okay, so it's a complicated question, but I'll answer this in a very simple term from an understanding of what I have. What makes you sleep peacefully? So रात को नींद अच्छी कब आती है?
जब मन
What
शांत
makes
हो.
the मन शांत हो? मन शांत होना जरूरी है ना, तो रात
बिल्कुल.
को नींद अच्छी आएगी. How would you want to die? So I keep asking this question: how would you want to die? So Anant, on the deathbed, when you are dying, when you are in the last 5-10 minutes of your life, at that time, if you have regrets in life, कि यार ये करना था, ये तो किया ही नहीं, ये करना था, you are going to die with incomplete life. And there's no point of living life like this. And Anant, I've said this a lot of times that if I die today, I have zero regrets, like
Wonderful.
zero regrets, because I've done everything that I wanted to. I've failed, I've done my startup, I've done my trainings, I've done my solo trips, I've done everything that I wanted to do in life. किया जो करना था वो किया, लेकिन अपनी मर्जी से किया. And I'm happy that I've done. Obviously, if you look at from an external perspective, the external lens लगाओ, अरे कमलेश के पास 5 गाड़ी है क्या? नहीं है. कमलेश के पास 5 बंगले हैं क्या? नहीं है. कमलेश के पास सीईओ का टाइटल है क्या? नहीं है. All of that does not give me peace of sleep, right? So my success factor is very simple. Are you able to sleep peacefully? And will you be able to die peacefully? When you know the art of dying, you know the art of living. And you
But do
have
you
to,
think that is commonly understood by people?
not really. Most people understand it when they get a shock treatment. So most people understand it जब कोई बड़ा shock लगता है जिंदगी के अंदर. And that also, there is a term in Hindi called samshani vairagya. So you have this detachment only in the graveyard. When you are in the graveyard, you're like, what is life? It's so ephemeral. This guy was so like, all this conversation goes on in the graveyard. The moment you come out, अरे यार वो शेयर में पैसा लगाया क्या? So all of this is very, very ephemeral, but most people don't realize this. And I keep saying this that somewhere you have to stop in your life to rethink on all this. Nobody stops these days. Anand, so there is the word rat race was very rightly introduced and called rat race. Everybody is running, but running where? Nobody is stopping. And anybody who stops, he is made to feel guilty that Baba, everybody is running. Why have you stopped? You're an idiot to have stopped. So when I stopped and I realized everybody is running, बोला भागो यार, भागो तुम लोग सब भागो. I'll see you later. Because eventually when you are on the deathbed, everybody is common. Most people don't realize this because we are in this rat race. There's a lot of comparison in the society. And even kids growing up, there's so much competition, there's so much comparison. Oh, my kid is AIR 40, your kid is AIR 20. He's studying from Narayana, he's studying from Allen. So much competition, so much Sharma ji ka beta. God knows what all has been. This rat race has destroyed the society.
Absolutely. Precisely the reason why I asked this question to you, because, this is not an easy thing to execute.
It's not an easy thing to execute, but the point is
You
that,
define success, as you rightly said, you define success. Me and you can probably do it. You define success, by having
yeah,
a peaceful night's sleep. That's how you define success. But
yeah,
for the others,
it's
the
not
parameters are
easy.
very, very different.
Yeah. So, Anand, I give this example, right? When COVID happened, think about it. Everybody was indoors, and you realize how ephemeral life can be. Like in 1 second, people can go. Like today, after the Pahalgam attack, I've got some photographs that this girl got married 1 week ago. 1 week later, husband is no more. But that's the nature of life. But when we are running, we have so much ego built in ourselves. So, Anand, this ego is a huge problem in human beings. If human beings were,
And
if
especially
there
for
is
an
a
entrepreneur.
big time, right? There's an ego. And so I've seen a lot of entrepreneurs who have just started their organization and they'll write their title as CEO. बाबा एक आदमी की कंपनी है, खुद ही सीईओ है, लेकिन उस टाइटल का ईगो है. And this ego that I'm carrying $1 billion of net worth and I'm meeting this person, Secure Capital, this, that. So much of ego gets built. And this ego kills you eventually. This ego destroys you, which is why somewhere we have to have spirituality, meditation, mindfulness very early in our life, in our education system. Somewhere these basics have to be taught, not cheating. That is why I love Japan as a country. Like Japan is like the epitome of everything that you can think of.
Really?
You think about it, right? Japan is technologically one of the most advanced countries in the world. And from a humbleness perspective, you will never see a more civic society than Japan. Their cleanliness, their society culture, everything is left flawless. But how have they built that system? Because for first 8 years of their schooling, kids don't study there. Kids clean the toilets, kids clean the school, they go to the school, they only carry their lunch boxes. They're supposed to clean their own lunch boxes. That's all they do. They're supposed to clean the rooms. They're supposed to wash the toilets by themselves. First 7, 8 years, this is what kids do. When kids do this for 7, 8 years, when they grow up, what will they do? They will care about environment. They'll care about throwing garbage on the street. They'll care about all this. Unfortunately, Anant, in India, we think throwing garbage is my right, and I've appointed a person to pick up that garbage somewhere and throw in the garbage bin. We have that much ego. So education system को जब तक fix नहीं करोगे तब तक आप कुछ भी नहीं कर पाओगे, because that's the foundation. That's the place where it has to get changed. Sadly, in India, it is not happening at all.
Precisely, precisely. And which is one of the reasons why I feel, you also talk about a lot about Ikigai and mindfulness and things like that, right?
Yeah.
So just to give a perspective, in basic, plain basic terms, what do you feel is, what do you think these terminologies mean?
So Ikigai is very simple, right? It's why do you wake up early in the morning? What gives you that kick in the morning? What's that kick? So I wake up every day at 5 o'clock, no matter what, 5 o'clock I wake up. 5:30, I'm walking, no matter what. Now, sometimes my daughter says, Dad, you're such a boring person. You have nothing to do in life. I'm like, but I'm walking at the age of 50. And I want to walk because I don't want to go to the hospital. Very simple. I want to stay healthy. So there is a purpose in life, right? You wake up with a purpose. Now, if you're an entrepreneur, and by the way, entrepreneurs don't talk about 70 hours a week, 90 hours a week, and all that. Entrepreneurs work 24 by 7. I also travel crazy, work crazy hours and all that. But because there is a reason for your existence, there is a larger purpose that you are there for, it gives you a huge kick. So Ikigai is reason for being. Why are you doing what you're doing? Why are you existing? So Anant, a couple of weeks ago, I was in Chennai, I was walking in the mall, and suddenly a lady came to me and said, Kamlesh, hi. And I like, sorry, I don't recognize you. And she said, Kamlesh, no, I've attended your program in Fidelity and I've seen you there and I've seen your program and it has created a huge impact. I just wanted to thank you that I've got a promotion recently.
Wow.
Now tell me this, that Anant, you give me 100 crores in the bank account. Will that 100 crores give me this impact? So ये impact इसी से आता है. So this is Ikigai, reason for being, reason for your existence, what is your purpose in life. And purpose in life can never be money.
And
Sadly, a
how
lot
do you get that?
it's difficult to get that. It's not easy. If it was so easy, everybody would be living an Ikigai life. But it's a if you take a step in that direction, you will get there. But you have to take a step in that direction.
So
You have
what are
to
the
take
steps that a person needs to take?
so the first thing is you have to realize that it is about you. It is not about external validation. It's about you. What makes you happy? Somebody loves doing a lot of things on social media. Good luck to him. That makes him happy. Somebody loves a lot of money. Good thing to him. Do it. I love doing what I'm doing. That makes me happy. So this external validation, to get rid of this external validation and to be completely on your own, attahi attano natho, as they call it, you have to have that is the first step.
So
And that is
is there something called as a good ikigai and a bad ikigai?
good, bad judgments that people make. I don't know if there's a good ikigai and a bad ikigai. Again, good and bad also
No, the
depending
reason why I
on.
asked this question was because,
Yeah,
for example, a
uh-huh,
person who's a social media influencer, that is the purpose, right?
yeah,
Uh, with which he wakes up or
yeah,
she wakes up and stuff like that.
yeah,
There's a person who wants to build up something which is more impactful.
yeah.
So,
You need
you know,
everything, right? I'm not saying this is good, this is bad. I don't want to categorize anybody saying that what you're doing is bad and all that. Everybody chooses the path, everybody goes in that path. Simple. But you have to give 100% to that. You have to give your heart and soul to that as such. So Ikigai is that. And by the way, the best way to understand Ikigai a little bit more is to watch this documentary on Netflix called Live to 100. So there's a documentary called Live to 100 Blue Zones and talks about people who have lived more than 100 years of age and how do they live. And Anant, they say a very interesting thing in that it is not about you and your family. It is about the community. So a lot of people talk about family, 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 but they don't realize that family brings ego. But when you think of community, you're thinking about everybody, and that gives you a lot more power. So, and that is ikigai in a short sense, as such. So there's no bad and good ikigai. Obviously, if I have a belief that social media is bad, I'll call every social media guy a bad guy. But there are several people who do great work in social media as well. I'm not trying to diminish their value as such. The second term that you talked about is mindfulness. Again, a lot of these words have become very fancy these days. In fact, there are a couple of weeks back I saw this on LinkedIn. There's somebody who's created a mindfulness drink. And like, how is that even possible? Somebody has made a drink which is mindfulness drink. This is the sad part. आजकल सब कुछ branding में चलता है ना.
The
So
best drink, mindfulness drink, is दारू तो available है वैसे भी.
I don't know. They've called it mindfulness drink. I think the company is called Moment or something like that. I don't
Okay.
remember. But mindfulness is all about that wherever you are completely there. You are present in the moment, right now, just here. And if you can live mindfully just in this moment, completely here. So Anand, they say, right, being in the present. But sadly, most people are either in the past or in the future. They are either worried कि मेरी कंपनी का आईपीओ कब आएगा, or worried about the fact कि यार वो लास्ट वाले फाउंडर ने मना कर दिया था पैसे के लिए. But present. So living in the now, living in this moment that you have in your hand, making the most of what you have in the now, and that is mindfulness for you.
So
Obviously,
the canvas of Ikigai is obviously much larger than the canvas of mindfulness, correct?
yes. So mindfulness is a technique or a way of life that is used for all those people who are living their Ikigai life. So Ikigai has a larger perspective. So Ikigai talks about your diet, it talks about your relationships, it talks about your lifestyle, it talks about mindfulness practice, it talks about a lot of other elements, the area that you're living in, the kind of text that you're reading, all of these aspects. But
So can
mindfulness is one
Ikigai,
element.
got it. So can Ikigai be related to impact?
Ikigai is all about impact. That is why I say Ikigai is reason for being. What is your purpose?
So, which is
Ikigai,
where I came to the question of good ikigai versus bad ikigai. I
yeah,
mean, the reason is I may probably have used the word
yeah,
bad in a more
yeah,
direct way, but what
yeah,
I meant was not exactly bad. What I
yeah,
meant was good ikigai is when a person is waking up with an impact value in mind.
yeah, yeah.
And probably a bad ikigai or probably a not so good ikigai would be a person who probably is self centered, who is looking at only growth for himself or herself monetarily.
Absolutely.
Which is
Yeah,
why I took the example of a social media influencer vis a vis
yeah.
a person who's waking up in the morning, an entrepreneur, for example, with the intent of creating a impact value.
Fantastic. Yeah, so brilliant. Now, Anand, I'll answer this question.
Yeah.
So I'll give you an example here, right? One of the things that I have realized, and I've lived life like that throughout my life, is that always do what you expect. So do what you expect is a principle of life. So if you expect people to throw garbage on the street, throw garbage on the street. If you expect people to come late, be late. If you expect people to kill each other, you also kill each other. It's up to you. So do what you expect is a principle of life. I've seen a lot of people, and I come from the learning industry, and Anand, I say this that in India, teaching is one of the most noble professions. It's very humble, it's not highly paid, but it creates a huge impact on the society. Great teachers may not have $1 million in their bank account, but great teachers create a lot of multimillionaires and billionaires as such. But teaching is a very noble profession. Unfortunately, teaching has also become a business for a lot of people. And that is where this bad ikigai comes in, if I can use that reference word as such. There are people who now teach you how to stay focused, but they are on Instagram putting reels every 30 seconds.
Is that bad?
Think about it, right? You are telling people not to use alcohol, and you are in the alcohol bar. So again, this is my rule, not necessarily that everybody has to follow it. But if you're telling somebody not to do it, you better not do it first. So there is something called dog fooding, right? I'm sure you have heard this term called dog fooding. So when you create a product for somebody, you first use it. So which is why I give this example that Mark Zuckerberg, Steve Jobs, apparently it said that they never gave an iPad to their kids. Their kids don't have a Facebook account. Their kids don't have an Instagram account. And they are selling this to everybody in the world. They know this very well. If you are a drug dealer, you should give drugs to your kids, right? But you're not giving drugs to your kids. You're selling in the market. Now, obviously, this is great because you're building value, money, and all that stuff. So I'll give my example. I have been told by a lot of people in the last 10 years that I should be on Instagram, I should be on all these social media platforms, I should put reels after reels, I should hire a social media agency and do it. And somewhere in my heart, I'm like, I'm telling people not to be on social media. I'm telling people to limit the use of social media. and I go there and do the same thing. My conscience does not allow me to do it. You can do it if you want to do it. I'm not saying you meaning you, but anyway. So this is where I keep saying that if you're doing something, like for example, some people say Zepto is bad because Zepto is destroying the lifestyle of people. People will become unhealthy. People will lose their jobs. Kirana store will go and all that. Zepto is not bad, Baba. Zepto is giving you a product. If you're using it, it's your fault. And Zepto will fall if you don't use it. Very simple. Why are you using it? So it's up to you. They are creating a product. Now, some people say Zomato is bad, it's good, it's bad for health of the people. People have started eating fast food and all that. But you are buying on Zomato. No, Zomato is not forcing you to buy. Zomato is
Buy
not
it,
telling you,
yeah.
please buy from me. Zomato is not doing anything. They are selling you a product. If you want to buy, buy. Alcohol is available in the market. You want to drink, drink. Who's stopping you from doing it? It's your choice. So that's why I say that they are doing what they're doing. Sometimes the impact of that is much worse in the society. Like, for example, Byju's, right? A classic example. They created an entire education company, but they were not an education company, they were a sales company. They were not an education company. I kept saying from the day one of Byju's existence, they pushed hard to people, kids. They made kids realize that they have nothing in them. I had my kid got interviewed by Byju's. My kid, after attending the Byju's interview, she said, "Dad, I'm not capable of anything at all." I'm like, "What? Who said this to you?" I said, "No, Byju's interview has told me this. I need to attend." They damage the entire society. Obviously, karma karoge to karma goal to hoga hi hoga. So,
No, no, bilkul, bilkul. I think you nailed some of the points here. I think I'm having a better clarity in terms of what is my ikigai and what is a good ikigai versus what is a not so good ikigai kind of things. And
yeah,
I've also kind of loved the statement which I think you forwarded to me, which was a quote I think by some gentleman which said that I have succeeded not because of intelligence. I have succeeded because I had a greater attention span.
great innocence in fan. Yes, this is
That statement
Charlie
was something
Munger.
which was so powerful, it actually set
Yeah,
me thinking.
yeah.
It
That's
actually
Charlie
started questioning, I started questioning within myself, how am I, when I am confronting on a day-to-day basis with my kids, with my spouse, with my parents. So I think that's a very, very powerful
Nobody.
statement. So how would you like to expand on that?
Think about it, right? When you talk to your spouse, when you talk to your kids, do you actually talk to them? Are you actually listening to them? Are you actually sitting in a heart and heart conversation for 5, 10 minutes? Are you even doing
True.
that? Most people are not. There were times when we used to actually sit as a family together and half an hour, we don't even know have a topic, but we'll talk for half an hour. Nowadays, nobody does it. And even if they talk today, they will get into heated arguments very easily. So we have attention deficit is a huge thing, and I have not succeeded because of talent or because just pure attention, the ability to pay attention. Think about markets, right? For that matter, Anand, financial markets is where I come from. 3 weeks
Absolutely.
ago, markets were crashing.
Yeah.
3 weeks later, market is booming. Now, if you look at news every day, and if you're not paying attention to what is happening, you will get distracted every day, and you lose money literally every day. But if you are focused on what good companies are, what is the parameters that I want to invest in, how do I want to stay invested, you will make a hell lot of money. And that is why this Berkshire Hathaway, Charlie Munger, and all of these guys have made a hell lot of money. I'll give an example. One of my friends is a good friend of mine. For the last 5 years, he did not invest in equity markets at all. By the way, he's an equity markets guy. He's an algo trading guy. He did
Okay.
not invest in equity markets at all. He said, I'm not convinced that this equity market is a bubble. It's a bubble. He put all his money in gold. Okay. All his money, like his entire corpus is in gold, and his corpus is fairly big. Every banker told to him, you are losing money, you're losing money, you're losing money. He stayed focused. He said, no, stayed focused, stayed focused, stayed focused. Last year, everybody is losing money. This guy has made 5x of what he would have made. So eventually, that is the attention that you have, that clarity that you get. आना चाहिए ना भाई उतना देर रुकता कौन है nobody stays so
Bilkul.
there is a thing that I quoted yesterday in LinkedIn that वो कबीर का एक दोहा है धीरे धीरे रे मना धीरे सब कुछ होए माली सींचे 100 घड़ा रुताए फल होए.
Right.
Who has patience these days? Nobody has
So
patience.
true, so true, so true.
Everybody wants everything overnight. Everybody wants to build a company for 3 years. So when I have this, so when Ola guy started taunting the Hero Motors guy and Bajaj Motors, Bajaj Auto, he started taunting them. And remember, Hero and Bajaj have been there in the industry for 60, 70 years. They have built legacies, not just factories, they build legacies. You are taunting them. And there was an entrepreneur who did that. Look at where Ola is today and where look at Bajaj Auto and Hero Motors is today. So you have to be very clear. You have to have this clarity in your head. You have to have this focus in your head. Otherwise, you'll end up messing up big time.
Kamlesh, for an entrepreneur, for example, if there were three pointers that you would like to elaborate on as to how they can leverage on attention and focus to better themselves every day.
Okay, so I'll start with the foundation itself, right? Two things which are foundation, which are like, if I can call it zero, not even one, two, three, but zero. Active body and calm mind. All right, active body and calm mind. So your mind has to be extremely calm. It's like that MS Dhoni tiles cool. मतलब कैप्टन कूल है ना, वो
करना
ठंडा रहता
आसान
है
है.
like, करना आसान है, कहना आसान है, करना डिफिकल्ट है, लेकिन कूल रहना पड़ता है. यू कैन आइदर चूज टू बी MS धोनी और यू कैन चूज टू बी जिनेडिन जिडान, योर चॉइस. But you have to learn to be, that is why meditation becomes important, mindfulness becomes important, spiritual grounding becomes important, all of these things become important. So that is first. And physical fitness, your physical activity as such. And by the way, physical activity, physical fitness also develops grit in you, because every day when you run, every day when you walk, every day when you go to gym, it gives you a lot of mental strength. So when you get into entrepreneurship and you see a lot of moving parts, a lot of failing parts, you will not lose that easily because you have got that grit in your mind as such. So that's the foundation, if I call it: peace of mind, calm mind, active body. Step number one, if I can now count one, two, three. Step number one is don't get distracted with a lot of things that come your way. Learn to say no. Learn to say no. Very strict, learn to say no. Number two, always have dedicated blocks of time for everything that you want to do. Like create watertight compartments in your day schedule, which says that this is the only thing I'm going to do here. I'm not going to do anything else. Because as an entrepreneur, it's very easy to do six things at the same time. Right now, I'm talking to you. I may have a GST return to file. I may have a lawyer to talk to. I may have a trademark guy talking to me next time. It's very easy to get distracted. You have to have watertight compartments for all of this. Have dedicated blocks of time for all of these things that you have to do. Number three, if I can use that word, you have to have this extreme level of curiosity and egolessness to understand that your idea actually may be bad. So be ready to adapt to the next one. Be ready to it. A lot of times what happens is with entrepreneurs is they start with an idea. Because it's their idea, they get very emotional and attached to it. And they think that, oh, you know what, my idea is great. My idea is great. You have to ready to understand that, okay, you know what, your idea is actually not great. Because when you enter the space, you'll realize, oh, ये already करके जा चुका है. This has already been done by this technology. This has already been solved by somebody else. So you have to have this egolessness to say, you know what, I'll adapt very quickly. I'll learn very quickly. I'll get into a different kind of environment very quickly. Because remember, Anand, Amazon did not start thinking that they'll sell everything in this world. They started as an online bookseller. Today, they make money by everything, selling everything. And by the way, Amazon does not make money by selling products. They make money by AWS. Their core revenue comes from cloud services. Their core revenue does not come from giving you tender coconut free.
True.
So that's the one thing that I would say, that obviously have blocks of time, very clear blocks of time, learn to say no, and also make sure that you are ready to give up on something that you are very close to and adapt to something which comes your way.
So where does Ikigai come into the picture here?
Again, Ikigai comes from the 0 point, right? What is your purpose? What do you want in life? Again, I keep asking this. What do you want in life? Do you want to be rich? Please go ahead and destroy your body. Do you want to be healthy? Then make sure that you take time out for it. It's always about priority, right? So, Anant, I give this example. Rakesh Jhunjhunwala, the big bull of Indian markets, made a hell lot of money for himself and died at a very early age, and died at a stage of his life when his kids were not even grown. And his regret in his life, the last 2 days of his life, he said that I should have lived much healthier. तो वो डिसाइड कर लो ना यार आपका पर्पस क्या है. What's your so if I want to call what is my purpose in life is not to have money. एक पॉइंट के बाद पैसा तो बैंक में ही रहता है. मतलब आप क्या सोने के बिस्किट खा लोगे या पार्ले जी खाओगे? पार्ले जी खाओगे ना, सोने के बिस्किट को खा नहीं सकते. So
Right.
beyond a point, it doesn't make a difference. Beyond a point, what makes a difference is the impact that you create. That is why this purpose becomes important. When somebody comes to me in the mall and says, Kamlesh, you did this and I feel happy about it, that gives me a kick. उससे मेरी जिंदगी के 2 साल बढ़ जाते हैं. And that purpose is very important. That's the foundation. So purpose, health, peace of mind, all of that become. And when you're doing something with purpose, right, you get a lot of energy. You
True.
get a lot of, you're never tired. Like you ask me, there are days when I've landed in a city at 4 o'clock in the morning and I've gone to the floor and did a program at 7 o'clock in the morning. And I've stood there for 7 hours. लेकिन थकता नहीं है आदमी क्योंकि पर्पस होता है लाइफ में. That purpose has to be there.
That's
And by
very
the way,
clear in your head.
purpose is not something big. By the way, for a poor man, for a guy who's not very like economically savvy, for him the purpose is to get money for the family. That is his purpose. And he does not talk about impact and all that. उसके लिए purpose है कि भाई शाम को मेरे बच्चों के लिए खाना आना चाहिए. And they should
So,
not. There are
आपने, as an entrepreneur, have you failed, Kamlesh, at any given
oh,
point of time?
big time, big
And
time I
what
failed.
uh, can you give some instances, where you've actually failed
So,
miserably?
so
And
I'll
what were
give
the
you
learnings
the
from there?
so I'll give you the first example. When I started in 2005, my first version of my company, the mistake that I did was that I jumped in too early. So I got too excited about this thing that I want to do trainings and all that. And then when I jumped it, I realized, अरे यार यहाँ पे तो कोई वैल्यू नहीं है अपनी. ना कोई जानता है, ना कोई पहचानता है, ना कुछ है. And फिर बैंक बैलेंस में नहीं है. So everything looks rosy outside. When you enter there, you realize how painful it is. So a lot of people say entrepreneurship is great. अब करके देख, मालूम पड़ेगा कितना पेन है. So that was the first mistake that I did, and I realized that I need to come back. Also, the other mistake that I did was I realized that I was doing all the things by myself. So I was doing sales myself, marketing myself, accounting myself, content
Very,
creation
very
myself.
pertinent point you are making. Very pertinent point.
I did all of this myself. So when I said that when I'm going to come next time, whenever I come back into this entrepreneurship space, I'm only going to focus on what I can do, what I'm capable of doing. In fact, I can do everything, but what is my best value to? What is the best use of my time? So the next version I did, I said, you know what, I'm going to partner with entities who are going to take care of sales, who are going to take care of clients, who are going to take care of my accounting, who are going to take care of all of this. I will only focus on content and delivery, content and delivery.
Delivery.
That's all. So
Right.
I did only that. So I did that mistake and I revived and I made sure that I do this. But again, I failed in 2010, 11, 2020 when COVID happened. So when COVID happened, suddenly everybody was on the ground. I was on the ground because suddenly a guy who's going to the classroom every day, classroom is shut. So I have to reinvent myself. So then I learned new technology, I learned new tools, I started doing online programs. Then I started learning how to engage people who are on the screen, give them activities, give them gamified versions. I learned Canva, designing workbooks, all of this. So completely reinvented myself again. And I don't know, maybe 2 years from now, I have to reinvent again. Who knows? So that's the journey. You will always have this. Failure is integral. And every time you fail, I realize that I've got something more in life.
तो अगर mindset की बात करें during the point of failure,
Yeah.
uh, how does a person involve himself or herself when it comes to the point of failure?
Very simple, right? So again, I keep saying this, meditation is to me, it is a lifeline because meditation teaches you a lot of things. मन का हो तो अच्छा, मन का ना हो तो और अच्छा. If something wrong is happening to you, you think it is wrong. It is actually not wrong. In hindsight, you will laugh at yourself. That's why was I crying then? So Anand, I was in Lehman Brothers on the day when it went bankrupt. I was part of the bankruptcy process.
Wow.
And you will believe it or not, but in 2008, September 15th is when it went bankrupt. I was in Chennai on that day at my home. It was a weekend. Monday morning is when the announcement of bankruptcy came. I was in Chennai because my wife was, there was a family event, and I cried on that day. And here I was, all the family members, I'm crying. A senior guy, executive director, crying. बाबा नौकरी जाती तो सबकी लगती है. But I was crying on that day. But after that, I realized that because Lehman went bankrupt, Nomura acquired. Because Nomura acquired, I went to Japan. Because I went to Japan, I learned so much from Japan. अगर लीमन डूबती नहीं तो मैं जापान जाता ही नहीं ना. So in life, meditation tells you to detach yourself. It teaches you how to stay egoless. It teaches you how to say desireless. And when you're egoless, you're desireless, ये सब टेंशन आएगा ही नहीं लाइफ में. आता ही नहीं है. So when you have these issues, when you have these challenges that you face in life, if you can stay grounded, if you stay desireless, business में नुकसान हुआ हुआ कोई टेंशन नहीं है. किसी को जाना था जिंदगी में गया कोई टेंशन नहीं है. Because this is the true nature of life, right? Life will go, businesses will go, and I keep saying this, right? And this is like my fundamental principle in life. One is meditation, the other thing is gratitude and gratefulness.
Very true.
There is so much that God has gifted you.
I know.
Unfortunately, we don't value any of what God has gifted us. हम लोग सारे के सारे भिखारी हैं. हम लोग भगवान के पास भी आके भीख मांगते हैं. उसके पास भीख मांगने के नहीं जाना चाहिए, उसके पास थैंक यू बोलने के लिए जाना चाहिए कि भाई तूने मुझे इतना कुछ दिया. मैं भी कश्मीर में हो सकता था ना, पहलगाम में. आई कुड हैव बीन 2 वीक्स 2 days ago, आई वुड हैव बीन
So
विद दोस
true.
पीपल. तो ग्रेटिट्यूड जिस दिन आ जाता है ना कि भाई तुमको इतना कुछ ऊपर वाले ने दिया. आई हैव अ फैमिली, ऑल माय फैमिली मेंबर्स आर हेल्दी, माय डॉटर इज वर्किंग, फिजिकली फिट. और क्या चाहिए यार. एंड चाहत की तो एंड होती नहीं है ना. बीएमडब्ल्यू दूंगा तो आप पोर्शे मांगोगे, पोर्शे दूंगा तो बेंटली मांगोगे, बेंटली दूंगा तो हवाई जहाज मांगोगे. तो when you lose, when you have, and by the way, I failed in CA exams. लॉस तो वहां से शुरू हो गया था ना. सीए ज्वाइन करोगे तो फेलियर तो आएगा आएगा. सो
Absolutely. I
लाइफ
think
इज
so. You've actually learned failure from a very young
अर्ली
age
स्टेज
itself.
बिकॉज यू
Absolutely, because I
फेल.
know a lot of my friends who are CAs.
हाँ.
They are still going to appear for examinations even at this age.
When you fail in CA, that's the first exposure
That's
to
one of the
failure.
biggest lessons in failures, actually.
हाँ. And somebody who is a gold medalist failing in CA, and like तेरी औकात पता चल जाती है उस दिन. बट द पॉइंट इज कि लाइफ में अगर ग्रेटिट्यूड है और डिवाइन पे फेथ है, and I'm not saying one divine, I'm saying divinity, existence as a divine as such, you will get so much strength in life. And Anand, I'll give you because we are having this heart to heart conversation. Every year in my last 14 years, every year, I start the year thinking कि यार इस साल काम कहाँ से आएगा. So I start because I have the training for इस साल काम कहाँ से आएगा. Every year I start with a worry. And every year I've realized that I've only grown. Every year I grow. Last year I grew. Last year January I was worried कि इस साल काम क्या होगा, इस साल काम क्या होगा. Should I go to social media? Should I do marketing? Should I do reels and all that? And I said नहीं नहीं करना नहीं करना नहीं करना है. I still did well. So if you are true to your product, if you're true to what you're doing, if you're true to what and you're completely disciplined about what you're doing, अपने आप आता है. Divine has a way to give you, but you have to be prepared to receive it.
So, this is about positivity that you talked about, right?
Yeah.
So, positivity, attention, focus, are they all interlinked?
All of them are part of the same. So if you call a meal, they are all part of the same meal. One is sweet, one is this, but they're all part of the same meal as such. Because when you're paying attention, when you're mindful, you're automatically positive. When you're positive, you're automatically happy. When you're happy, you're automatically in the moment. So all of these are, at the end of the day, one bucket. Obviously, if you want to do what you call as a dictionary bifurcation, there are different meanings of these words. But eventually, they're all part of the same meal as such.
So, why I asked a specific question was because when you consistently keep failing, which is actually good, when you consistently keep failing, your level of positivity takes a huge beating.
It takes a huge beating if you don't lose your core. Your core has to be gratefulness. Your core has to be that you have been given so much. Your core cannot be that I was not given. Why did this thing happen to me? In fact, Anant, a lot of people say, why did this thing happen only to me? So I'll give you a story here, Anand. So, and human beings are very funny animals, right? I call them human beings as animals because we are, in a sense, in fact, we are worse than animals to a great extent. But there's a story here, right? So, there was one guy who got a blessing from God, and the God said that whatever you ask, I'll give it to you. So the guy said, fantastic, ऐसा आशीर्वाद मिल जाए तो मजा आ जाए. The God said कि यार तेरे को तो चाहिए वो मिलेगा, लेकिन सॉरी एक प्रॉब्लम है, तेरे को जो मिलेगा तेरे पड़ोसियों को उसका डबल मिलेगा. So the guy said, अरे यार ये तो पंगा हो गया, गलत हो गया ये तो काम. So now think about human beings, right? He's being told that
Interesting.
you will be given everything that you want, but your neighbor will get double. So this guy said, you know what, no problem. Let's take this. So this guy said, I want a car. He got a car. His neighbor got two cars. So यार ये तो गलत हो गया. He said, I want a bungalow. He got one bungalow. His neighbor got two bungalows. He said, I want a helicopter. He got one helicopter. The neighbor got two helicopters. यार ये तो गड़बड़ हो रहा है. So then this guy said, यार एक काम करते हैं, वकील से बात करते हैं, because lawyers are very smart. They will figure out a way. So the lawyer said, एक काम कर, ये वाला काम कर. So the next time when the god came to this guy and asked him, so the god, he said to the god कि मेरी एक आंख फोड़ दो. So the god said, fantastic, तेरी एक आंख फोड़ी, पड़ोसी की दो आंख फोड़ दी. He is now happy. So this is human beings problem. मेरे पास क्या है उससे मैं खुश नहीं हूं. मेरे पास उससे ज्यादा है कि नहीं, उससे मैं खुश या दुखी होता हूं. कंपैरिजन. So when you lose, when you fail, your core has to be gratefulness. Your core has to be that you're still alive.
So
Fail
wonderfully
काम है.
said.
You have to be still having that core. Core पे रहो, अपने core पे रहो. इतना कुछ मिला है, इतना कुछ मिला है, इतना कुछ मिला है. And we are all blessed. See, Anand, India is a fantastic opportunity right now. The amount of technology that we have, the amount of talent that we have is just humongous. And with this talent, we can do wonders in life. And the fact that you're all sitting in India right now in this kind of opportunity space, इससे ज्यादा बेटर क्या चाहिए अपने को लाइफ में. अब इसमें लॉस होगा, नुकसान होगा, प्रोडक्ट फेल होगा, होगा. दैट्स ऑल पार्ट ऑफ पार्सल ऑफ योर लर्निंग. दैट्स ओके.
So a while back, we were speaking about this deficit of attention nation, which is India.
Yeah,
Now, you've traveled across the globe in other parts of the country and stuff like that.
yeah.
Where do you think the other parts of the globe are placed as far as
M-
the system
most of
concerned?
the developed countries, and if I call developed countries, meaning the Scandinavian belt countries, Europe, Singapore, any of these other countries, they are far more careful about all these. They are far more careful about all these things. So, Anand, if I ask anybody who is a participant from Sweden or Norway in my programs, if I ask them their phone number, they'll not share their phone number. Sharing a phone number is it's considered to be a crime. You can't share. They will never download an app for the sake of it. In India, sharing phone numbers, email ID, privacy is gone for a toss. Anybody and everybody has it. So the Western world is very conscious about privacy. It's very conscious about what others know about you. Is very conscious about how much technology to use. The Western world is far better compared to India.
So, which one are they surplus in terms of attention and focus in
Significantly,
comparison to India?
significantly better than India. Significantly better than India. There is only, let's say, Manila is another country which is as bad as India. If I can use Philippines as a country, again, based on my limited experience, I'm not saying that I know everything about Philippines, but they are almost as bad as in India because they're also a growing country, young country, a lot of technology advancement, a lot of social media there. But India is definitely way beyond the damage.
So, what actually you're doing, Kamlesh, is wonderful. With the power of attention and concentration training,
Yeah.
what exactly are the two impact values that you're trying to create?
If you talk about impact value, very simple, right? One, you work less number of hours, produce more, become a lot more productive, and become a lot less busier. In fact, in India, most people are busy but not productive. So I'm saying become productive, not become busy. Busy, become Renuka, that example that I gave you earlier. Become Renuka's work 9 hours, 6 hours, finish your work, and that's it, matter is over. So that is one big advantage, one big impact. The second impact, which is a result of this, is a far better work life that you will get. Everybody is now talking about work life imbalance, people not having good families, not spending time with their kids, and all that. So, how do you get this work life balance fixed? And that is the other impact of this. You will live a lot more. Now, a bigger impact of all of this is you live healthier, you live happier. And if you are healthy, you are happy. That's all you need. What else do you need in life? और कुछ चाहिए नहीं ना. So
Fabulous, yeah,
the
fabulous. I think this was a very interesting conversation, Kamlesh. To be honest, it has given a lot of perspectives. It has bettered me as an individual, and I'm sure the kind of impact value that you're creating, amongst people in India and people across the globe. I think you're
yeah.
doing a wonderful job. It was actually a pleasure speaking with you, and really hope to
Uh,
kind of connect with you very very soon, and obviously keep the connection on.
Thanks, Anand. Thanks for this opportunity. Again, I keep saying this, right? We were born to live and thrive. We were not born to just survive. We were born to thrive. We were born to laugh. We were not born to just exist. थोड़ा बच्चों जैसे जियो, थोड़ा हंस के जियो, थोड़ा खुल के जियो, थोड़ा
बिल्कुल
थोड़ा बड़ा जो वो क्या बोलते हैं ना, एक बाबू मोशाय, there's a dialogue by राजेश खन्ना कि जिंदगी लंबी नहीं बड़ी होनी चाहिए.
बड़ी होनी चाहिए बिल्कुल.
So लंबी तो that's the length of time that decided by God. लेकिन बड़ी तो जी के देखो मजा आता है लाइफ में. But thanks
So
all
if
of
there
you for
was if
listening.
there was one single pointer that you have to give as a piece of advice to entrepreneurs, what would that be? You've given, of course, a lot of them, but one very core, very pertinent, and something that would be very impactful. What would that be,
I
Kamlesh?
think everybody, whether you are an entrepreneur or not an entrepreneur, you have to start getting into doing meditation. You have to make
Fantastic.
meditation as part of your life. Like eating is part of your life, like brushing is part of your life. For some people, prayers is part of life. You have to make meditation part of your life. You can't let this go. Otherwise, 5 years from now, India will be the mental health disorder capital of the world. So meditation is like the first foundation thing you have to do. And that, by the way, does not mean that you have to practice one meditation technique or some meditation technique. It doesn't mean you can simply do a breath meditation, simply practice mindfulness techniques, simply download an app and do some kind of meditation, but you have to do it. Your mind has to be calm. From a calm mind, you can conquer the world. But if you have an agitated mind, you will never conquer anything at all. So meditation is something that I want, and I hope everybody does it.
Oh, this is a brilliant piece of advice, Kamlesh. Thank you so much for being a part of Entrepreneurs Echo podcast. And I'm sure
Thank
there'll be a
you.
lot of learnings that the audiences would have from this entire session that you've actually conducted. It was wonderful conversing with you. And again and again, I'm telling you, I'm actually inspired today. This is a very inspirational talk that you've actually
Thank,
given. And
thank you.
definitely this also makes me think deeper as an entrepreneur. It one brings me back to my roots and takes me back to my journey when I started off and things like that, and where I've actually
Yeah,
come
yeah,
forward. I
yeah,
think we should also pause and also think back, as to what has happened and
yeah,
what is the way to move forward. And I think the conversation that we've had today
yeah.
definitely helps me in that respect. So it was wonderful
Thanks a
talking
lot.
to you. Thank you again, for being a part of this podcast.
Thanks, Anand. Thanks a lot.
Okay.
Appreciate your time.
Thank you
Thanks,
so
everybody.
much.
Thanks.